welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be exploring something kind of fascinating. I think the differences between Chuck Palahniuk's Fight Club, the novel, and the film adaptation everybody knows.
Yeah.
And you've shared some excerpts from the book, so we can really kind of get into the nitty-gritty and dissect some of the things that make the two versions unique.
It really is remarkable, I think, how both the novel and film grapple with these pretty heavy themes: consumerism, masculinity, rebellion, but they deliver distinct experiences.
Yeah, they really do.
So it'll be fun to dive into how those translate.
Okay, let's jump right in.
Okay.
So one of the first things that struck me is how the narrator's presented in each, in the film we know him as Jack.
Right.
But the book keeps him nameless.
Yes.
Which right away creates this kind of unsettling feeling.
Absolutely.
Of anonymity, almost like he's a stand-in for anyone who's struggling with, the same kind of discontent.
Exactly. And the novel being entirely from this unnamed narrator's perspective really pulls you into his headspace. It's raw, it's unfiltered, and you really feel every ounce of his anxieties and frustrations as he kind of spirals towards chaos.
You really feel it, yeah. And there's, the book emphasizes this with this phrase that it uses, I am Joe's. Like I am Joe's white knuckles, or I am Joe's boiling point.
Right.
Really highlights his disconnect from his own body and identity.
Absolutely. It's such a powerful literary device that underscores his struggle with who he is. And I think it's a struggle that the film, while it's visually compelling, it doesn't quite capture it with the same rawness as the book.
It doesn't have the same effect for sure.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about Marla Sooner.
Okay.
This really captivating, disruptive force in the narrator's life in both.
Mm-hmm.
But the book really delves deeper into her backstory and motivations, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. The novel Marla is so much more tragic and complex.
Yeah.
We'll learn about her search for connection and meaning. She goes to support groups despite not having any ailments, which seems a little bizarre on the surface, but her desire for authentic human interaction really mirrors the narrator's yearning.
Wow, I hadn't thought about it that way.
Yeah.
That's so interesting that they're both kind of seeking something real.
Exactly.
In this world that feels artificial.
The film touches on this, but I think that the focus is really on their interactions and the visual spectacle of that rather than a deep dive into Marla's inner world.
Right, and the book lets you connect with her on a different level.
Definitely.
Speaking of memorable entrances, let's talk about Tyler Durden.
Yes.
The movie gives us that iconic scene on the plane, this seemingly chance encounter.
Yeah.
But the book is far more ambiguous.
Much more.
You're left questioning, is he real or a figment of the narrator's imagination?
Well, you've hit the nail on the head there.
Okay, good.
The book really blurs the lines between reality and delusion, and that creates this unsettling feeling that lingers throughout the story. And I think as you read, you start questioning your own perceptions.
Oh, for sure.
Is Tyler a real person or just a projection of the narrator's desires and frustrations?
Totally. And then there's these subtle hints that Tyler might have existed before that encounter on the beach.
Yes.
Remember that line about him maybe working as a projectionist, splicing single frames of pornography into family films?
Oh, it's creepy.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder about the nature of their connection for sure.
Like, what's the deal with these guys?
Well, it's like Tyler's this phantom, this embodiment of the narrator's repressed self, always kind of lurking beneath the surface.
Right.
I think that's what makes the book so psychologically disturbing.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then how Fight Club evolves from these underground brawls to Project Mayhem. Both versions show that, but the book really dives into the philosophy and the organization behind it all.
The film really captures the chaos and destruction well, but the book goes further and reveals Tyler's plan for an induced dark age to cleanse the world of consumerism. It's a radical concept that gets to the heart of their rebellion against modern society.
For sure, for sure. And then there's the narrator's job as a recall coordinator.
Oh, right.
Which gets more emphasis in the book.
Yeah.
It seems like a mundane detail. But it's this constant reminder of this consumerist culture that he's trying to escape.
Precisely. And that scene where he describes the mathematical formula he uses to decide whether to recall a faulty car, it's chilling. It reveals this dehumanizing nature of his corporate world, how everything's reduced to cold calculations.
Yeah, it really does.
It does.
So it makes you realize he's trapped in a system that values profit over people.
Totally.
No wonder he's drawn to Fight Club.
Yeah, it's such a stark contrast. On the one hand, he's surrounded by this sterile consumer-driven world, and then on the other, he's drawn to this primal, destructive energy.
Yeah.
I think the book emphasizes this internal conflict more.
It does, yeah. And both versions, we see the violence,
Right.
but the book's descriptions are far more graphic and unsettling.
Well, the book uses violence to reflect that raw, unbridled rage that simmers beneath the surface of modern masculinity.
Okay.
Take, for instance, that scene where the narrator describes beating a first-timer at Fight Club. It's brutal.
It's so brutal.
It reveals this disturbing desire for destruction.
Yeah.
Far cry from the stylized violence in the film.
Yeah, you can't even compare the two, really.
Right.
It's a scene that stays with you, and it makes you question the nature of this transformation he's undergoing.
For sure.
He's not just rebelling against society. He's tapping into something primal and potentially dangerous.
Exactly. It makes you think about the line between liberation and self-destruction.
Right.
A theme the book digs into.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the endings.
Okay.
Because that's really where things diverge.
Yeah.
Both lead to the confrontation between the narrator and Tyler, but the book's ending leaves you with this sense of ambiguity.
It does. The film provides more of a definitive resolution with the buildings exploding as this visual representation of Project Mayhem's impact. But the book ends with the narrator in a mental institution believing he's talking to God, while hints are dropped that Project Mayhem might still be operating out in the world.
Chilling.
It is chilling.
It really is. And it suggests that even though he's seemingly defeated Tyler, his ideas, his philosophy, it might have taken root and spread beyond his control.
It's almost as if Tyler has become this infectious idea, this embodiment of rebellion against the status quo.
Yeah.
The film presents a clear victory over Tyler, but the book leaves you questioning whether such a victory is even possible.
We've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
And it's clear that both the book and film offer vastly different experiences.
They do.
So before we dive even deeper, let's just take a moment and reflect on what we've discussed so far. What are some of the key differences that stand out to you?
Well, what strikes me is how the book really delves into the psychology of the narrator.
Yeah.
In a way, the film just doesn't, Right. The violence, for example, isn't simply about spectacle in the novel. It's deeply unsettling and speaks to a certain kind of rage that feels very specific to his journey.
It's true. Yeah, when you read those graphic descriptions in the book, it's almost like you can feel his desperation, his need to break free from the constraints of his life.
Yeah.
Remember that scene where he talks about wanting to punch someone with a really good face?
Yeah.
It's disturbing, but also strangely compelling,
Well, it's a raw glimpse into his psyche, into the dark side of his desire for liberation.
Yeah.
It contrasts sharply with the almost glamorous portrayal of violence in the film, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. The film has those cool slow-motion fight sequences set to a pulsating soundtrack.
Right.
It's visually impressive.
It is.
But it lacks that raw, visceral quality that makes the violence in the book so unsettling. In the book, you feel the impact both physically and emotionally.
It's like the film is trying to entertain you with the violence, while the book is trying to make you confront its ugliness, its potential consequences.
Yeah.
That's a crucial distinction.
That is. And then there's the whole consumerism theme. The film shows us those sleek, IKEA-filled apartments.
Right.
But the book really delves into his obsession with material possessions.
Yes.
I remember that scene where he describes his condo in meticulous detail. It's like he's trying to convince himself that he's happy.
Yes, and that list he keeps of all of his belongings.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's such a powerful image of how consumerism can trap us and define us and ultimately leave us feeling empty.
Cool.
It's like he's trying to find himself in a catalog.
Yeah.
And it's just not working.
It's not working, and his job as a recall coordinator plays a crucial role in the book.
It does.
It's not just a backdrop. It's a symbol of the system he's rebelling against.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that chilling section where he describes the mathematical formula he uses to decide whether a car is worth saving? It highlights the cold, calculated nature of corporate culture, the dehumanizing aspect of reducing human lives to statistics.
It's a stark reminder that in this world, everything has a price tag, even human life.
Oh.
It's no wonder he seeks solace in the chaotic, unpredictable world of Fight Club, where the rules are different.
It's a desperate attempt to find meaning and connection in a world that feels increasingly artificial and transactional.
Right.
And then there's the whole soap-making element, which feels much more significant in the book than in the film.
Absolutely. In the book, that process becomes this metaphor for transformation, for taking something discarded and creating something new and valuable.
Interesting.
It's almost like a twisted parallel to Tyler's vision for society, breaking it down to its base elements to create something raw and real.
It's like they're both trying to cleanse the world, albeit in very different ways.
Right.
He's seeking personal transformation, and Tyler's aiming for societal upheaval.
Mm-hmm.
But both are driven by this deep-seated dissatisfaction with the status quo.
For sure. And let's not forget the ambiguity surrounding Tyler Durden himself.
Oh, right, yeah.
The film presents him as a charismatic, albeit slightly unhinged leader.
Right.
But the book constantly makes you question whether he's even real.
Oh, yeah. There's so many hints that he might be a figment of his imagination.
Mm-hmm.
His sudden appearances and disappearances, his knowledge of things he shouldn't know.
It's like he's a phantom, a manifestation of his darkest impulses.
It really is, and this ambiguity is crucial to understanding the book's central themes.
I agree.
It's not simply a story about rebellion against consumerism. It's a psychological exploration of self-deception, of the shadows that lurk within us all.
Yeah, and this is where the book and film really part ways.
Okay.
The film's ending provides a clear resolution. Jack kills Tyler and seems to regain control of his life, even if it means accepting the consequences of Project Mayhem's actions. But the book's ending is far more ambiguous and unsettling, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It's a masterstroke of psychological horror. We're left with the narrator in a mental institution believing he's in heaven, while hints are dropped that Project Mayhem is still thriving in the outside world. It's a chilling thought.
It is.
Suggesting that Tyler's ideas, his philosophy, might be more infectious and enduring than we initially realize.
Right, and it leaves you with so many questions. Has he truly defeated Tyler, or has he simply internalized his destructive philosophy? Is the narrator's descent into madness a personal tragedy, or is it a symptom of a larger societal sickness?
Yeah, these are questions the film doesn't even attempt to answer. It offers a visual spectacle, a cathartic release, but it avoids the psychological complexity and lingering unease that make the book so powerful and thought-provoking.
I think it's a choice, and it speaks to the different goals of the two mediums.
Yeah, it's fascinating how these two versions, despite their differences, manage to hold up a mirror to society. The book's focus on the narrator's internal struggle makes it a more personal, introspective experience, while the film's emphasis on visual spectacle and action makes it a more visceral, entertaining one. Yeah. But both raise crucial questions about our relationship with consumerism, conformity, and the desire for something more, something authentic.
And they both leave you with this lingering feeling that the fight against these forces is never truly over, whether it's Tyler Durden's chaotic rebellion or the narrator's desperate search for identity.
Yeah.
The struggle continues long after you've finished the book or walked out of the theater.
It's a testament to the power of Palahniuk's story, that it can be adapted in such different ways and still resonates so deeply with audiences. But there's one element we haven't touched on yet that's particularly striking in the book, the character of Marla Singer.
Yeah.
In the film, she kind of comes across as this enigmatic, almost whimsical figure.
Yeah.
But the book really dives into her complexities, her struggles with identity and meaning.
Well, she's not just a love interest or a plot device in the novel. She's this fully realized character that really challenges the narrator's perceptions and forces him to confront the truth about himself.
Yeah.
And I think that line, "I want to have your abortion," is a perfect example of that. It's shocking.
It's shocking.
But it reveals this deep-seated yearning for connection, this attempt to break through the isolation and emptiness of their lives.
Yeah, it's a line that would never make it into a Hollywood adaptation.
Yeah.
But it's so crucial to understanding their relationship in the book. It speaks to the rawness, the honesty that sets the novel apart.
Exactly. The film hints at this complexity, but it prioritizes the visual spectacle of their relationship over the messy, uncomfortable reality of their emotional entanglement.
Right.
The book forces you to confront those uncomfortable truths.
Yeah.
And that's where its power lies.
It's like the film wants to give you this visually satisfying experience.
Right.
But the book wants to make you think, to question, to feel uncomfortable. And that's where the real insights lie.
Absolutely. And it's not just about discomfort, it's about authenticity. The book's portrayal of Marla, with all her flaws and contradictions, feels so much more real, so much more human than the somewhat romanticized version we see in the film.
Yeah, it's like the book is saying, look, life is messy. Relationships are complicated. And sometimes the people we're drawn to are the ones who reflect our own darkness back at us.
Right.
Which is a message that resonates, even if it's not always easy to swallow.
Yeah, and it speaks to the book's overall theme of confronting the shadows within ourselves.
Right.
Whether it's the narrator's struggle with consumerism and conformity, or Marla's search for meaning in a world that feels increasingly empty, the novel challenges us to look beyond the surface and acknowledge the complexity of the human experience.
Yeah, it's a challenge that the film, with its focus on spectacle and action, doesn't quite embrace. It's a different kind of storytelling.
It is.
And both have their merits.
Yeah.
But the book's willingness to delve into the messy, uncomfortable truths of life is what makes it so powerful.
And what makes it such a fascinating companion piece to the film,
Right.
By exploring the differences between these two versions, we gain a deeper appreciation for the nuances of Palahniuk's story and the different ways it can be interpreted and adapted.
It's like looking at two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Both are valid. Both offer unique insights, and both leave you with this sense that the questions raised by Fight Club are as relevant today as they were when the book was first published.
The struggle against consumerism, the search for identity and meaning, the desire for connection in a world that feels increasingly fragmented. These are themes that continue to resonate with us, regardless of whether we prefer the book's raw psychological intensity or the film's stylized visual storytelling.
It's a testament to the power of Fight Club, that it can be adapted in such different ways and still spark such passionate discussions. And that's what we love about the deep dive.
Yeah.
We get to unpack these complex themes, explore different perspectives, and ultimately leave with more questions than answers.
And hopefully a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. So as you revisit Fight Club, whether it's through the book, the film, or both, keep these differences in mind, they offer a fascinating glimpse into the creative process of adaptation and the enduring power of Palahniuk's vision. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. Until next time.